Yeah, we could. It's a special meeting. We could if you like.
Franklin County Board of County Commissioners, 9th session. Commissioner Jones, would you lead us in the prayer and play?
Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, we thank you today for this day that you've given to each and every one of us. We thank you for those that have joined the meeting today by communication media technology. Father, we ask that you would be with us in this time together. God, help us to make decisions that are good and prudent and just for not just today, but the future of Franklin County going forward. We thank you for the opportunity in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, afternoon, whatever. This is a special meeting of the Franklin County Board of County Commissioners for the, get information for the CARE Act.
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay, I guess next on the agenda will be Ms.
Well, you call for public comments first.
Public
And-
comment, any public comment?
And Mr. Adlerstein, you're the only one on there besides Ms. Tracy Busby. Do you have any public comments, sir? Well, if you're talking, we can't hear you, so we will move on to Ms. Busby. Good afternoon, Trace. How are you doing?
Good. Good afternoon to all of y'all. I appreciate you guys taking the time to set this up. I know that we had some great conversations over the last few days, and this is pretty much like a follow-up and a recap of what we discussed. We've got a lot to cover, so I think I'm going to kind of put the business grant to the end, because I know that's probably going to be the lengthiest conversation. But I just wanted to go over quickly. I sent on the 7th. That would have to come off of her claim that she's getting. And the other things, I did some recommendations. I'm moving things to line items. But other than that, these are all proposed expenses, and then the ones with the sheriff's office. And I don't know if you guys have what I sent you in front of you, but we've got questionable ones, and this may be, it can either be me following up with the sheriff's office or someone else, but like the questionable ones on teleworking, they're asking for different quantities of things, so I couldn't gather who was teleworking, like how many people. The printer cartridges, there was like 105 in color and black and white. Not sure why there's so many of that. And then they needed new equipment for the quarantine workspaces within the department. And I guess a question is, why can't they use their current, if they have a laptop, why couldn't they be in their quarantine workspace? And then on the storage for supplies, I didn't have any detail on what that was. On the non-eligible, the 30 chargers for body cams, I'm not sure where they charge them currently or if none of the deputies are going to the office. But body cams, we have to relate everything back to COVID, and I don't foresee that being an eligible expense. And then the other one is the CAD software. That is actually a state requirement and has nothing to do with COVID. And then lastly is the Sallyport repair. I'm not sure how that's COVID related. So So I don't know if you guys want to talk about any of the sheriff's office stuff or how you would like to proceed with that.
Pleasure to board. How y'all?
Mr. Chairman? Ms. Busby, can you hear me? This is Commissioner Parrish.
Yes, sir.
Okay, as I understand this CARE Act funding that we have, if we expend this money in the wrong way, the county is responsible for paying this money back, correct?
Yes, sir, absolutely. And
Okay.
they will audit you.
Okay, and I'm relying on you as our consultant and administrator of this program to make sure that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Because we have to pay this money back, it comes out of the taxpayer's back pocket. We don't have money just laying around to pay back somebody. So
Correct.
I'm not gonna get into different submittals. I feel like that's your job. That's why
Okay.
you're getting the administrative dollars to look out for this board and to look out for, Franklin County constituent taxpayers that would potentially have to pay this money back. So I would prefer you err on the side of caution when you're dealing with some of this. I
Yes,
don't
sir.
want to submit anything that you say, well, it might be eligible, no, I want a determination if it's eligible or it's not. If you
Right.
don't feel like it's eligible, then I don't wanna put the money out there. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's the way I feel about it. I mean, I've looked through what you submitted as I requested at an earlier meeting, maybe a month ago, that the county commission need to be more involved and see where we're going.
Yes, sir.
Rather than going there and then find out, what's going on at the end of the line. Because I want you to know this opinion of mine, it's just mine, and I'm not speaking for the board. I see a bunch of them nodding their head, but, we're not looking at all this, and I'm not familiar with what's allowed and what's not allowed in the CARES Act. If it's
Right.
allowed and you've determined, then that's fine. Just as we're gonna do these business, requests, they're gonna go to Opportunity Florida and be reviewed by a state agency, basically.
Yes, sir.
So you're gonna rely on them on the business side, but on the constitutional side and some of these other things, we're relying on you.
Right.
So that's, if they're eligible, they're eligible. If they're not, they're not, but it's up to you to make that determination. And maybe give an explanation of how you come to that determination would be fine for everybody's information, and make sure all the constitutionals and the board are aware of why you came to, or the decision
Right.
that you came to on any specific item. But, I'm looking for you to take care of this and make sure that we don't spend money where we're not supposed to, and then I gotta tax the taxpayers to pay the money back, because that's where the government gets its money from.
Right, absolutely. And that's why I'm here also and I know that, I may become the bad guy, but that's fine. You know what I mean? That's my job. I'd rather it be taken off of y'all. But, I've read the guidance. I listen to every webinar, any update. I'm on top of it. I've read the HEALS Act. So, I'm staying on top because they are changing things throughout. But I just want you guys to know that if a constitutional officer or something doesn't like what they hear from me, you know why I'm doing that.
Exactly, that's what I said. Give us when it comes down to, what we're gonna fund and what we're not gonna fund, then we need to know why you say, well, this is
Right.
not eligible. Well, this is why it's not eligible. And we all have iPads, so you can email us.
Yes, sir.
And give us a heads up of what's going on, so if some of the constitutionals or anybody else is applying for funding, we have an explanation that's in black and white that you've sent to us,
Right.
how you made that determination, and I know you have a lot more resources to rely on to try to make these determinations than individual board members do. And that's why we wanted a consultant to do this for us, so we have somebody that's connected with all these different state agencies and federal agencies and making a determination the way you're doing. And
Yes, sir.
I know it's a lot of hard work, and I understand that we're paying a pretty good premium for administrative fees on this, and I don't have a problem with that, but it's a hard job, and we've elected you to take care of that.
Yes, sir. And just on that, and I know that probably, it's 5% of your contract, and if we took 5% of the overall 2.1 million, it's 105,000. There's no way. I think to date, and I don't have my invoices in front of me, but I think to date it might be $8,000. So there's no way that I'm going to get to that. So just so that you know, I'm not billing to get up to the 105. I bill you real hours.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I want you to be able to do your job. It's gonna take a lot of hours to be able to dig into the details of all this and
Yes,
make
sir.
it happen.
I appreciate
I
that.
just want it to happen right. So if you have to spend a
Yeah.
few dollars to gather the information or whatever you gotta do, I'm not opposed to that. I just wanna make sure we do it and do it right.
Yes, sir. And just to back up a little bit on your contracts, so to date, and I think some of us talked about this last Friday, but to date, you have a contract in hand with cash in hand of $528,930. You are promised a second contract at 75%, which would then bring you up to your 2.1 million in your total funds. So there's kind of a hiccup because those contracts have not been let out yet, and there's no absolute date of when those contracts are being let out. It's asked every day that a state call happens, somebody brings it up and asks the question, and I have told my other counties, and I talked to Michael about this a little bit ago, it wouldn't hurt if a commissioner called the governor's office, budget, and contracts, and kind of said, can you tell us what's going on? Because they're not listening to the little guys, and so, and here's my thing, if you're only going to get $528,000, this whole conversation that we just had goes away because there's no way you could afford all that stuff. So, and I know that the governor sent out something, I think it was either Thursday or Friday, to maybe the chairman, asking for, have you put ordinance in place? What have you spent, purchase orders, that type of thing. I don't know if that is gauging to figure out who needs contracts, so I just don't know. Another one would be maybe, Representative Shove's office to maybe have them put a bug in the governor's ear, because we just need to know if they're not going to do the contract, we want to know, and if they are going to do the contract, we need to know, because you have to have all this money spent by December 30th.
Well,
So I just wanted to kind of put that out there before I went on from what we just talked about with the constitutional officers.
well, we did get I got the message, but I didn't know what to tell them because we hadn't talked with you.
Yes,
So
sir.
I was waiting.
Did you get the one from SAC, or did you get the one straight from the governor's office?
Hey, come on, I pay it.
Because there was two. I have not seen, and I don't know if it was a call or a letter. I was talking to Chairman Monlin in Calhoun, and I have not seen what he got or if it was just a call. And then Commissioner Bailey sent me what Florida Association of Counties sent, which is like a 4-page questionnaire. It says local government COVID response, and then it has all these blocks that need to be filled in. And then one, I'm being told, is due back to the governor by Wednesday, which is tomorrow. And then the other one's not due back to the governor until the 15th.
It was from the
So-
governor's office.
The one on the 15th is asking about correct me if I'm wrong, any ordinance, anything we passed
Right.
for restrictions related to COVID. So tell me what's due tomorrow? I must have missed that. I didn't get that email.
I have not seen it. I've only talked to Commissioner Munlin in Calhoun,
Haven't seen it
and he sent me an email on Saturday, and then I just gave him the list of what activities Calhoun has done. But I don't know if it was a call, if it was an email. He didn't forward the original. He just made his own, he sent me an email. So I think it might have gone to the chairman, but I'm not sure.
No,
Okay.
I think, Ms. Tracy, so the governor signed an executive order. That's what FAC put in the email they sent out, responding to the governor's executive order, and that's the 15th is the deadline.
Okay, and that's the request for
Yes,
anything
they're
that,
one and the
so
same.
when we close the beaches, when we opened up
Yeah.
the beaches, all that.
Yes,
that's what we have to say.
exactly.
Okay, all right.
There's just
And then
one.
like any kind of mask, any kind of curfew, anything you guys did, that's what they're wanting. And if you need help doing that, just let me know, because I'm looking at it right now. It just has like different, you know, they want full text, and then, you know, did you do citations or anything? So, but the other one, I don't know. I don't know what it said.
I basically think we have two ordinances about the beaches, and then we have a resolution that we send out there about our desire. That's the three documents I'm planning on sending, unless Attorney Schuler or Ms. Hines tell me there's something else out there that I don't know
I
about.
think those three are the only ones we did,
Okay.
and they're already a public record, you know what I mean? So that's not gonna be hard to do.
Well, I ain't know what she had to do with this and that had to do with that.
Yeah, it gets
So-
confusing quick.
I just left it alone.
Yeah,
till we-
it's
till
confusing
today.
quick.
No, Commissioners.
Yes.
We'd rather clear it up than get it right. You did the right thing.
Mr. Chairman, did you get a call or an email from the governor's office?
Got an email. I mean, it came over the iPad through the. I didn't
So
get
it
from
might
them.
be that one, Michael, that is due tomorrow.
It came through fax.
Well, let me ask again, Tracy, what do you think is due tomorrow? What are they asking
Okay,
for?
let me read you exactly the email I got.
If you could forward
I
it to
did
me.
not get the actual email itself. I got, I think, a boiled down version.
Okay.
And then we were trying to figure out today if it was the same thing, but he was saying that this was due tomorrow. So that's the only reason why I wanted to bring that up. So he said, this was Saturday, the governor has asked all 67 counties to send a detailed letter stating what COVID-19 measures they have implemented. He is asking the board to provide these measures to his office for review. Can you please email me any correspondence of ordinance, documents, purchase orders, and any other information that the board has approved, and this is for Calhoun County, due to COVID-19. I have this completed by Tuesday evening and email him no later than Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I got the same email, but that one was for, the deadline is the 15th, is what I got on that one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right, so the only other one, the two questionables, the states on your actual expenses that have been done to date, which I broke out today, the state's attorney's office, Michael had said that is a repeated expense, that they buy those computers every 2 years. And then the other one that I had a question on, it was body storage at the funeral home.
Okay, so let me go back to the state attorney one. Okay, so what I found out since then, Tracy, and I'm double checking to make sure, that they bought something outside of their normal rotation of computers because of COVID, because apparently throughout our circuit, what that state attorney has been doing, they have one of their clerks, administrative people come in from 10 to 2, and they rotate on a daily basis is how they do it. And then the other one works from home from 10 to 2. But I'm going to...
Okay, so I'll just put that back.
Yeah, I'm going to verify that and give me until tomorrow to make sure that it's a purchase outside of their normal, because they normally rotate computers every 2 or 3 years. I'm double checking that for you. I'll find out and let you know by tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
Now, one more time about the
It says body storage. Let me get the exact. When I read it, I wasn't quite sure why you guys were paying for that, but it says Kelly Funeral Home's the vendor, body storage for COVID-19, and there's nobody's name. Like all my other ones had people's names, like who, if it was clerk's office or EOC or something. So I don't know. And I asked the EOC girls, and they didn't know. But you paid for storage for, I guess, someone that had passed. I'm not sure.
County from COVID.
yes, ma'am. I would prefer the clerk would clear that one up. I know we have a contract, but she knows way more than I do.
When I saw that, I asked about that to my staff. What I think they told me was the medical examiner, because of COVID, had nowhere to accept the bodies in Tallahassee. So Kelly's Funeral Home had to do something with refrigeration on the body that could not go to the medical examiner as normal.
And that wouldn't be, and I'm just asking, like a family expense?
No, because I think there's a contract, Tracy, that they have. I don't know who the contract is with now, if it's the county or not. I think it is. Yes, because Commissioner Massey has looked into that a couple of times. So there is a contract that because we don't have a ME's office here locally, they're the ones that pick up any bodies that has to be transported. So I guess what the clerk, I get what the clerk is saying now. So basically, if they won't accept it in Tallahassee, then they're asking Kelly to hold on to the body. That means they gotta fire up their refrigeration unit, I guess, to hold the body, and what they're saying, that's an added cost to them. I guess I have to find out, do they get paid extra from the ME's office in Tallahassee for that? That's what we gotta find out. Let me make a
Okay,
note
so
of that.
I'm just making a note, but if because this would be one of those questionable ones, I'll need the contract that's in place, and then we'll need to write something up for this $805.
Tracy, if you would, call Erin Griffith, in my
Okay.
finance office and talk to her, because she's got more details about that particular one than I do.
I will do it. Thank you.
That
Can
was,
I ask a-
that was on our last month bill, that $800-something.
That was on what, sir?
Our last bill.
We
For
approved
Kelly's
the
funeral
last
home.
meeting.
I don't know if the 800 was for them doing the pickup and delivery, or was for the refrigeration, because I think what they're asking, well, I'm, Tracy, I don't have it in front of me, so are they asking for
Okay.
added costs for refrigeration, for the storage of the bodies, what they're saying?
It says body stored. That's all it says. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to find out some more, yeah.
Well,
Okay,
let me-
I'm sorry, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman.
Let me ask you a question. Do these bodies, when they got COVID, do they have to be separate from a regular dead body? Is that the case?
I don't mean to sound this way, but it,
I would think so.
Yeah.
okay, so Mike,
So they
I
got-
hate to
they
ask
got-
why. And it might sound inappropriate, but
I mean,
yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to make,
But they're
I mean,
treating
but they-
all that different.
really?
Yes.
I mean, they-
Because if they put them with the others, somebody views them and it's something on their skin, they can catch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
They are-
So they
So the
got-
COVID is still live,
Right.
even though?
Very well could be.
I think that they're taking the side of caution.
Trace, I gotta do more research on that and get back.
Okay, I just have it kind of
They got
highlighted.
to have
So
a separate, they got to have two refrigeration units.
Wow,
Or
I'll-
containment bag and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta
I
be
mean,
different.
something.
Do we
Yeah.
verify that this individual was a Franklin County
That's
resident?
what I'm saying, we gotta
We're
make
gonna
sure.
check that out, okay.
We gotta check out the facts.
all right, Trace, that's one of the ones I gotta research and get back to you tomorrow
Okay.
on that one.
I've got it down to talk to Aaron too. So the next thing that we were going to talk about. So I was asked by one of the commissioners to kind of go through what other counties are doing, and then when I looked at my eligible list, that's what that is. So the eligible expenditures, because we went back and looked at the different counties, and this is pretty much so. The majority of them are doing food drives, dry goods and regular food, along with like cleaning supplies for households, individual assistance, business assistance. They're doing some homeless things over here in Tallahassee. They're doing countywide testing. They're buying PPE for both businesses and employees. Senior citizens in any rehab centers, there's a lot of that going on. Installing sanitation stations and temp kiosks. Social distancing, like doing telework. And then you can establish temporary facilities like for your hospital, or if you need more facilities for your health department. Those are the biggest things. Like with the business grants, some of them have a line item to do daycares because a lot of folks like to pay for daycare service for first responders or that kind of thing, like help assist with that type of thing. So I don't know, it's pretty wide open. There's not a lot of, because the basic thing is they say it has to relate to COVID. Like that's the number one thing. So if we can relate everything back to that, you'll be good. Now we do have to be careful though, because with the individual assistance, the housing authority sent $175,000 directly to the SHIP coordinators, and I don't know who that is in Franklin, but so we need to make sure that if you decide to do something with individuals, that you're not doing the same thing that that program is doing, because that is definitely the same pot of funds.
Tracy,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Bolt. Let me ask
Hey.
you this. Hi. The expenses to date by department, are these the expenses that the Board of County Commissioners here in Franklin County have already expended relative to COVID?
Okay, so
And then
that's
if so,
in the
what's the
email that I
retroactive date?
sent you today
Yeah,
that I broke out. Yes, those are checks that have been written
okay.
and already, I guess, approved by y'all, because I don't think anything, so all of those have been written already.
All right. And we still have to filter out whether they're COVID-related or not. Is that what you're saying?
I looked through them, and honestly, the only ones that was that body storage was the only one that popped out at me, because the majority of them are like for PPE
Okay.
or for the sneeze guards. All of that is approvable. And then there was signs, I think, for the beach, and so everything else, but that stuck out to me. And the only other reason I took the state's attorney, because we had talked about that last week, but I have that as an okay now. So,
Sure.
but yes, sir. So that email from today, where I break down by department, those are checks that are out the door already.
Okay, very good.
So all
Then
these
they are
is-
reimbursable back to the county with this money. Is that correct?
all of them?
Yes, sir.
All of them?
Well, you've already got the money, so it's kind of just moving it out of your CARES fund into whichever fund
okay.
these were paid out of.
Okay. Now, the next thought, I've looked at so many eligible expenses, and it seems to me that we should be really focusing on two main areas for this money. One is relief to individuals, and another one is relief to businesses.
Yep,
Would that be appropriate?
I think so.
I think that now individuals and businesses, I think, are very, very important in this area. And then the other thing I'd like to say is, and I've learned this from my fellow commissioners here too, is can we put some of this CARES money in reserve, standing by?
Yes.
Can we?
Yes, sir. No, but it has to be
can't figure out how to
expended by
spend- how to
December, but you can put
distribute
it in
it.
reserve right now.
Well,
You have a certain date to spend
let me clarify that, Trace, because I'm not sure if you're following what the commissioner is asking. It could be in reserve, and the only money we're gonna put in reserve is the possibility of the revenue shortfall that the Heroes or Heals Act might approve. But come December, Commissioner, all this money has to be spent.
Yes, it has to be spent by December 30th.
So there is no reserve beyond December.
That's right.
as
This
far
is
as
a
we-
temporary reserve, but it is a safety net. And we're not quite sure where we should distribute all this money right now.
And
Well, I got a question too.
well,
when
I'll
y'all
wait till the
get through.
chairman's finished. I have a couple questions, but go ahead.
Okay.
I'll wait till the
Now, they saying we got to spend this money and you saying individuals and businesses.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, that's good. I want the individual and the business to get the money, but I do need to know if an individual or a business had received money before this from
Right.
the CARES Act.
Yeah. Mhm.
Can we do that? Will that be double? Or would that?
And Commissioner, not to break in, but that's the struggle. I mean, I know I'm seeing the emails and stuff where people don't want to turn in all this backup documentation and they don't want. The reason for that is if you don't have that backup documentation that Busby's lawn service didn't get any other money, you're going to have to pay that money back if they did get money. And I mean, you can put a contract with the business, but then you'd be suing a business to get your money back. So that's why it's so stringent, and it's the same thing on the individual side. They would have to prove through notices from, their mortgage company or their rent or their electricity. They've got to prove that they truly have not gotten any unemployment, have not gotten anything from CARES. They have to prove, because up at the federal level, it's all the same pot of money. It's just coming different ways. So that is double dipping, quote unquote, if we give money to individuals and or businesses that have gotten funds anywhere from the CARES money in Treasury. So it's not an easy task.
Well, you would be the one who determine all this?
Would I be the one, what, sir? I'm sorry.
Will you be the one who determine?
That's what Commissioner Parrish was saying,
exactly.
earlier, exactly.
Yes,
Well, no, we-
she needs to be our standard of
Mr.
practice.
Chairman, with the businesses, all that goes to Opportunity Florida, and they
Yeah.
determine. They have access.
Well, it's
they
kind
have
of both
access-
of us,
They
yes.
have access to databases and other things.
Mm-hmm.
So they know whether some of these businesses got money or didn't get money because they got access to databases that tells them. So you have to be honest when you do your application.
Yeah,
If you don't, you're gonna get
Right.
caught.
yeah.
And that, I like that from a standpoint saying, if a business gets money and now we have a state agency that's reviewing this stuff, not just the Board of County Commissioners.
Right.
This business is a friend of mine, so he deserves money. No, it's going through a state agency. Now, if that state.
It's actually going to the Treasury at federal level.
What you say?
Treasury,
Treasury.
Department of Treasury, federal.
Yeah, but I'm saying all the business applications turned in to Franklin County will go to Opportunity Florida, is that correct?
It'll go to TME, which is my company, and Opportunity Florida, and we're working together. They are actually going through the application to say, yes, John Doe qualifies, or John Doe needs to give us this backup, or, they're doing that part of it, but we're working together on that. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that takes the load off the county commissioner here,
Right.
saying, I know these people in this business, let's give them some money. It's actually going through a pre-qualifying stage, for lack of a better term.
So my question, I guess my question would be, how long do it take before all this be verified? Oh,
Well, you got to December. You ain't got a bunch of time, but
that's what I know.
on the other hand, there's a lot of businesses in this community that don't even know about this.
Yeah.
That's a
I've
good
had
point.
a lot of calls in the last 2 weeks, and I've referred them to Courtney and Michael Marone, try to get them an
Yeah.
application, and I got some of the same responses that Ms. Tracy was talking about earlier about how cumbersome the application process is. I mean, they wanna know how many children you got and when they were born and how much money your business made, and it gets very cumbersome. You almost need a CPA to fill out some of this paperwork.
Well,
Well, if they
that's
don't
why-
get but
yeah.
$1,000 and it costs them $3,000 for a CPA, you going behind.
Yes.
So if I could just speak up on that, we're actually have less stringent in our application than some, and those are what Treasury is going to say they have to have. So the one thing that I sent you guys yesterday is I talked to Commissioner Jones, and there's a questionnaire that we can send out, and if people say yes on the questionnaire, then we can follow up with them on the actual application. But that application, I do not advise you to lessen the requirements.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, I've looked at the application, and other people have contacted me about and I understand, we got an email here from a constituent that we all got laying on our desk here, wanting us to lift the $5,000 cap on the small businesses because the paperwork is burdensome, is the same that's required for much larger federal grants program. Well, this is part of the federal grants program.
Yes, sir.
I mean, so I ain't got no problem with it, but I'm just saying that, people ain't gonna be real truthful sometimes, people
Well,
gonna
and I
try to-
will tell you, like the PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection Program that went out with CARES in like April. So there is a database, but the names are not in there unless they got more than $150,000. So any business that got less than 150, you can't verify if they got a PPP. But we do know in Franklin, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, I can get them from Mason, but there was over 100 businesses that got PPP money.
Right. Right, and a lot of them got a lot less than 150, and some got more. I mean,
Right, yes, sir, but that's the other thing with this program, we have to make sure that they're not using these funds for the same thing that they use that PPP for. Hold on one second. Can I get Franklin's, PPP number? I just don't have it in front of me. The how many businesses applied, thank you. Okay, he's gonna get us the accurate number. But that's the one thing, so there is a section on the business grant program, and if you didn't get a PPP, you just put no, and then you skip all of that other stuff. But if they got the PPP, we have to know how much did they get, how did they spend it, what were their terms of the agreement. I mean, there's a lot of things, because this is the exact same pot of money. And there's a second round of PPP that's in the HEALS Act. So we also have to know, are you planning on, because they can get more money out of the PPP program, because it's all, I mean, you got to submit more information than what we're asking, but, you know, that's my biggest fear is that, you know, I don't want to let a business slide because it's cumbersome. I get it that it's cumbersome, and I can't stress that enough.
So what you're, Mr. Chairman, so if they obtain this money fraudulently, the county will be held responsible for that?
Yes, sir.
Well, what kind of deal is that for the people? If somebody tells us a story, quote unquote, and they obtain money fraudulently, then the county's responsible for it, and then it's up for the county to try to collect it from these people that's
Yes,
already.
sir. Yes, sir.
These people are already in bad shape because of COVID and don't have a job no more.
Right.
So that means I'm gonna have to turn around and tax the taxpayers to get the money to pay this money back. And they didn't. And
Well,
some of
that's
these
why
tax-
we're
some
asking
of
for
these
all the
taxpayers-
backup.
Yes, ma'am, but some of these taxpayers got nothing. They're not applying for no money, but they gotta turn around and pay taxes to pay this money back. It don't
Yes,
sound
sir.
like a real good deal, does it?
And there's nothing that says you have to do the business grant program. Everything is up to the county commission.
No, I wanna help the business if we can help them, but I wanna.
Okay. I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's nothing in the contract that says you must do, you know, it's all open to the activities you wanna do.
But I wanna help them, but you know, I want them to be on the true side.
You wanna be honest when they
Yeah,
apply.
I
You
want them to be,
honest.
Yes, sir.
you know,
But as we
And I
know,
have
I don't
seen
wanna
some
pay.
of the counties that they actually have, so it's the application process, and then if Opportunity Florida says, yes, John Doe is getting $3,500, that then they enter into a contract with them that says, if you are fraudulent, but again, it's going to take someone at the county to go after that business if Treasury in the long run deems it ineligible.
Hey, Trace, do me a favor. I need you to pause for a second, because what's happening, you're cutting out the commissioners when they're trying to talk to you. And
I'm sorry.
a couple of them have some other comments that they want to do. So just, before you start, just pause and make sure that nobody else is talking, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
but see, my thing is, you saying on that little amount of money, what people got up under the 150 is not on
Not
they,
in the database,
it's not in the database.
there's no way to
What?
verify it.
Huh?
There's no way for her to verify it.
I know it, and there's
All
no
we
way,
gotta do is tell us a lie, and then we gotta
Yeah.
pay this money back.
but there's no way for us to verify it. If she
Uh-uh.
can't verify it,
We can verify, we gotta pay it back.
only time we'll know about it is when they send us a letter.
Yep. Some of them
Then-
done got money. Some of them drawed a check for a while.
Yeah, some of them will say, you know, the only time we'll know about it is when the government send us some money and say, y'all owe this in for such and such a person. I don't think that's fair.
Well, it seems to me that we need this is Commissioner Bolt, it seems to me that we need a filter or vetting process for individual applications
have that
and
kind of
business
time.
applications to be sure that they
We
meet
don't have that
the
kind of
standard.
time.
It's gotta be spent by December 31st.
Yeah,
That's right.
Or it goes back to them.
Yep, mhm.
But that don't mean turn around and give it to fraudulent claims.
That's
And then
correct.
the taxpayer has to pay it back. That's my
That's right.
concern. Some of this stuff, even in this book that you sent us with some of these expenditures, I don't agree with some of them, and I don't know when you wanna get into that. That's like Franklin Foods, let's go with Franklin Foods. They're telling us that they go to Quincy and pick up food, and then you look down at expenditures, they got a 2018 Chevy Silverado truck, they need 2 oil changes a year.
They submitted new paperwork.
Well, I ain't seen no new paperwork,
well,
but
they
this
did.
has nothing to do with COVID.
No, it
This
doesn't.
is their yearly expenses.
Right.
And we give money out of the county
Yeah, but-
budget to some of
right.
these organizations to
Some of
take
them,
care
but
of
not that one.
Huh?
Some of them, but not that one. We
Mhm.
never have.
But this has nothing to do with COVID.
Not that paperwork doesn't.
Where's the original? Where's the
Right.
other?
I can't be responsible. Make sure you get all the paperwork, sir.
Okay.
Past my point. You know what I mean?
I believe we should make every effort to notify the public on how to apply. At least we have made these, the notification that these funds are accessible. Our dilemma is that how do we validate the application that has been given to us that's honest and clear?
I think our bigger dilemma, Mr. Chairman, if I may, our bigger dilemma is, from what we have set apart right now, we're planning on giving 10% of these funds to the public. 250,000 is what we've talked about setting aside for businesses. That's 10% of the 2.1 million we're looking at possibly getting. So on our side, yeah, there's issues with the paperwork. We still haven't even seen how the 75%, the way it's gonna be worded when we receive it. It might have other stipulations in it that this one doesn't even have. We have no way of knowing that. But, you know, if we're going to go through all this stuff that is ineligible on the government side, why aren't we putting more money in the business side? You know, if we're only looking at 10%, I think that should be a really short conversation, because you're only giving them 10% anyway. I mean, that's good, bad, or indifferent when you have businesses that have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. A $5,000 check isn't, I mean, yeah, it's $5,000, but it's not any amount of money to be going through the process we're talking about. And then we're worried about what they're gonna claw back and what we're gonna have to pay for some other time. Those are a lot of discussions that, you know, on 10%, I don't know what we're worried about. If we're spending 90% on government, we should be good. We're in control of that.
Well,
You know, that's just my thought.
I believe we got a bunch of businesses that's honest, but it's always somebody gonna try to slip through the, I mean, that's,
No matter what system you have,
You
Mr.
don't
Chairman, they're gonna try to
Somebody's
get it.
going through it.
somebody goes,
But you can't concentrate on that,
so, and we ain't got no get back.
no.
Got, I don't know, we have to deal with, cross that bridge when we cross. Thing I,
Like Smokey said, you cross it, then you're gonna have to pay it back.
yeah. But, you know,
I don't think you have many businesses apply for $5,000, I just don't.
Nah.
How do we notify the
think that-
public to apply for this?
Well, let me address that. There is a plan in place, which was to notify the newspaper and notify OYS. That's what we're gonna do. But we put that on pause until we had this meeting to make sure, because we didn't want to advertise that businesses would get X amount, and then you guys are like, we have too many businesses, we need to lower that, you know, so we wanted to make sure that from today, we understand what you guys want to give to the businesses, then we come up with a plan, you approve it, then we'll advertise it, because time is running out to get this money spent.
Okay.
I don't see if they making
Can I,
big time money like that, I don't see why they wanna be embarrassed by $5,000.
Oh, no, I didn't say it was embarrassment. That's not what I tried to communicate. I'm just trying to say, when you've lost potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, it's kind of I don't know, I just think it's an off-putting discussion for us to sit here and talk about them possibly being dishonest to try to get $5,000. I don't see where that's gonna benefit them to do that, but that's just me, you
It
know.
won't really.
And if we're not talking about raising the limit, what are we gonna do with the funds that are left over from the original discussion, like the sheriff wanting to spend money on CAD software that's obviously not a valid expense, that's $248,000 right there. So what are we intending to do with the rest of this 2.1 million? I'm hoping we're not planning on making it government money. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, we need to give it to the businesses.
That's all I'm trying to say. Is it uncomfortable? Yes, it's uncomfortable. But, you know, COVID's hit us all hard. We need to do our best to help those in our community.
Can I speak from that statement?
Yep,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. One, the 250 was put in there as a placeholder. That wasn't like a solid figure. It was up to you guys to decide if that was the figure. Now the 5,000, that is on the application, and I don't know, the application is out there, so I know it is because I'm getting some back. So I know the application's out there, but that doesn't mean that amount can't be raised. So that is a discussion. The other thing is, and I know that we're on a time crunch, but I would not advertise this program until you get your contract, because if you don't want to go over what you already have in the bank, which is $528,000.
Well, I can tell you, Ricky, got so many businesses across the county, it's gonna apply for it, it's gonna eat that $2 million up, and some ain't gonna get some.
Yeah, no, you can't just give an astronomical amount of
Now,
money
you
to
got,
businesses,
we gotta figure
but,
out what to give, because
at 5,000, how much are you actually helping them is what I'm saying.
not a lot, but you gotta figure how many businesses gonna put in for it.
Well, it's hard to know if without some kind of pre-application process. That's why we're here today. Or if they know that they might possibly get 10,000 or 12,000, or, you know what I mean? Then you see that 100 businesses applied. I mean, you know what I
Right.
mean? It's kind of hard to do when you have to have input from the businesses to know how many are wanting to apply.
Exactly.
Well, how about, and Tracy, let me know if this is a bad idea, how about we, you set an amount, even if you go to 300,000, Commissioner Bolt had recommended before you put some money in reserve, we were putting the 500,000 that we think we could use for revenue shortfall. We can put more, and at some point, based on the pre-application, the applications we receive, this board could then decide, okay, up it, because we got a lot of applications, because like Commissioner Parrish was saying earlier, he was talking about, a lot of people didn't know, once that advertisement hits, then you might get a more truer number of how many people want to apply and how much money it's gonna cost to fund the ones that are eligible or willing to go through this long application process to get 5 or 10,000, So I think that's a way to move forward today, set a temporary number, put additional money in reserve, beyond the 500,000 that we could use for revenue shortfall, and then at some point in October, make a decision if you want to up it or use that money for something else. That's one way of looking at it. Tracy, would that work?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
And I do have the number breakdown. The total for PPP in Franklin County as a whole is 205 businesses. You had 102 in Apalachicola, 39 in Carabel, 64 in East Point, and then 0 in Lanark Village. And these were all that we cannot tell who they are because they're under $150,000.
together. Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Ms. Tracy, I want to ask a question so I make sure I understand something that I think I heard you say earlier that I didn't understand before today. So all these CARES Act dollars we're talking about today are the same, this is what I thought I heard you say. They're the same pot of money that businesses were supplied with some of this PPP money or some of the other
Yes, sir.
funds that they've already got.
Yes, sir. It's the exact same pot. So CARES as a whole was a bill that President Trump signed in March, and then it has all these little pots of money that kind of trickled down, and this is part of that. So originally, CARES, in some states, actually, the smaller counties did not get any funding. So Treasury actually deposited straight cash to a county of over 500,000 people. So, like an example, I know Palm Beach, I was talking to one of my friends that works down there, and she said they got noticed, and like on April 2nd, they had $250 million deposited into their account. But theirs came straight from Treasury to Palm Beach County. So the state of Florida got all of the money that is divvied out between the 55 counties, because there was 12 counties that got the direct deposit. There's 55 counties that had the money from the state. So that's what's happening is, but all of that CARES came from one bill that was signed in March.
Okay, so the follow-up to that question then is, if you're stating that 200+ businesses in Franklin County have already gotten PPP funds, they would be ineligible for any of the dollars we're talking about doing now.
No, sir.
Okay,
no,
that's what I'm trying to
they can
clarify.
still apply, and they can still get it. That's why we ask for the description, because they might have gotten their PPP on, I'm just throwing a date, April 20th, and they had already paid payroll, because it's a 2.5 month. That's how they did the first round, is
Right.
they asked for 2.5 months of your salaries only to then supplant it was done to keep employees employed.
Right.
So it was 2.5. So that, I would imagine, for every business in Franklin County is long gone. But we do need to know that, and we need to know how did they spend that.
Okay, but just because they have that does not disqualify them from
No,
this
sir, it
program.
does not.
Okay.
They could still qualify, and that's where I could work with them and say, well, let's go after rent or, whatever, food, electricity, whatever your operating expenses are versus your actual salaries for employees.
Okay, so this that we're doing now is more for their economic relief, I guess?
Yes, sir. Yes. So, it can pay for, and that's the other thing is we're going to have to look through, but, it can pay for rent, it can pay for utilities, it can pay for healthcare expenses, it can definitely pay for salaries if, that has not been since, if their PPP is gone, because I know that I think it was an 8-week, it was either 8 or 10 weeks. Let me make a note and I'll find out exactly. But I think it was 8 or 10 weeks that the initial round came that you had to spend the money within. But then they came out and amended it and gave them till the end of December. So that's the other thing is we got to figure out, do you still have PPP funds that you haven't spent? So that's the reason that we need so much information, because we just want to make sure that they're not spending it, they're not duplicating the funds.
Okay.
And I think, I don't know if any of y'all saw, but I think it was down in Fort Lauderdale that one guy actually went to prison. He got a PPP and then he went out and bought a car with it.
Well, on this PPP thing, you got to be careful. You said paying the light bill and the rent. Well, that coming under that 75,000 what SHIP got, because they doing the same thing right now.
Aren't they doing individuals only? They're not doing businesses, right?
Right.
Well, individual got to be, what I'm saying, you got individual with business.
Okay, I see what you're talking about.
I mean, it's two different.
Okay,
I
so like
understand.
if Jane owns a bar or a restaurant on the beach,
Right.
and she's applying for these funds, but she also applied individually, to me, it would be individually would cover your house, like your personal, and the business would cover your rent or mortgage or electricity for your business building. Now, where it would get tricky is if you have a home-based business.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of people work out their house.
Yeah, that's tricky. That is a tricky situation, yeah.
So actually, I need to add that to the application. I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a business for a long time. Most time I worked out of my house. I wasn't going to pay no rent. I had an empty room.
Yeah, but And Tracy, like you said, you're gonna add that to yours. I also have to put our ship administrator on watch for something like that too, to see.
And if me and that person could kind of coordinate that if we're seeing the same people applying, we need to check that out.
Yeah, I sure will. I'll get you Lori's, I'll get Lori your number, have her make contact with you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, we got a budget.
Yeah, Commissioners, I was gonna tell you. So, okay, so that hour went by rather quickly, and a lot of information, as Commissioner Bolt would say. So, we need to get ready for a 5:15 budget, public hearing, our tentative.
Oh, I'm
budget.
sorry.
No, that's not your fault. No, that's not your fault at all. So I guess, Tracy, what I'm gonna end up doing is basically putting you on, a week from today, on the regular meeting agenda, where you could provide a board update based on what we discussed today, and see if they have any more questions for you that they could, basically have answered on Tuesday, if the board is.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even get through all of the items that we needed to discuss, so I apologize for that.
Nope, that's
I
fine.
know. Well, see what it is. They send out, they send this information to us, they send the money, and they put a deadline. And it take a month, you know, for us to try to find out what's going on. But that's not right. But Ms. Tracy, I'm speaking for myself, and I guess the board, well, I'm a commissioner. I don't know nothing about CARES Act and funding and all that. And that's why I voted to have you with you a consultant, and our consultant usually specialize in what they do. So I'm putting my faith in you,
Yes, sir.
and just do the best you can with it. That's all I can say. I mean, if you see us wrong, just tell us we're wrong. And that's all. You can't do it. If you see we can't do it, just say that's not gonna happen. It won't be no feedback, not on my part. So
Mr. Chairman?
And the other thing that I'll do between now and next week is, I mean, if it's okay just to kind of email the group as a whole, I think it was Commissioner Jones, but I'm not sure if it was, but I will go through the constitutional officer's request, even though they are eligible, I will give you my thoughts on them. Would that help?
that'll be fine.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what you're supposed to do.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
Tracy, can you give us backing, starting from December 30th and coming to present time, some sort of a general planning calendar schedule of what we must be doing over the next 100 days to get this resolved and monies distributed as appropriate?
Yes, sir, and I tried to do that this morning. I was struggling, I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we don't have a lot of answers, and we don't have that other contract. I can do it based on if everything is perfect, I can do it like that, but knowing that we might have to change it on the fly if that next contract doesn't allow you to do certain things. So I don't know if you want something that may not be true yet, or if you want me to wait till that contract comes in.
When's the contract due?
No idea.
No idea.
They say any day now, so.
And they've been saying that for quite some time, yes, so.
They've been saying any day for 6 weeks, so.
Well, then why don't you just plan on that calendar to be continued as soon as that contract arrives?
Okay, yes, sir. And I apologize, because I did start it this morning, and then I kind of struggled.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I knew you and I had talked about that yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
And don't worry about your hours you put in. Do what you got to do to get it right.
Yep,
Yes, sir.
that's right.
Okay, I guess we need to close this session of the county commissioner. Thank you for your time today, Ms.
Thank you.
All right, Tracy, thank you.
We
All
need-
right, bye-bye.
We got to close this session because we got the public hearing for the board, for the budget. This part of the session is closed.